Sup? Welcome to Tales Tomorrow. I am Morrow, your storyteller for today. With me we have some more RPG horror stories. This has nothing to do with RPG horror stories, just letting everybody know if you're planning on getting a VR headset for yourself. They're cool and all, but if you have long eyelashes like me, make sure to have the lenses away. I've been literally recording for like an hour and my eyes keep tickling over and over. I'm trying to figure out why am I having such a hard time just wearing the headset. It's because the lenses were too close. My long eyelashes are just tickling the hell out of me. It's not even good kind of tickling. It's a kind of tickling that literally irritates my eyes. It's not good. It makes my eyes freak out and go red and stuff. Anyway, what was I talking about? RPG horror stories. Let's get some for today. Player obviously fudges dice rolls and hugely derails session. I don't realize it till it's too late. Not a terrible horror story, but I'm just trying to decide how to handle this as a GM. Apologies for any grammar or spelling errors. English isn't my first language. We play online via Discord and I can't see each other's roles. I know, but up until now, everyone have been trustworthy. There have been some curiously high rolls in the past from this player, but nothing egregious. I should also point out that usually a good player outside of the dice fudging. At one point, she rolled past a check with a high DC, deliberately high because I didn't really want them to do the thing, but I had to honor the decision. She took a while, math isn't their strongest suit. If you don't want players to pass the thing, you can just say it's impossible. Imagine they rolled super high and they could still fail. Just say, you attempt to make, like, let's say for example, pick a lock. You attempt to pick this lock, but whatever you do, no matter how hard you try, no matter how accurate you are with your tools, something about the tumbles of the lock just don't fit right and it feels that there's something wrong about it. It's just, with your current disposal, with your tools at your current disposal, you just simply can't do it. Narrate them successfully failing without, giving them, a specific roll. Because if you roll them, you give them this like hint of like, ooh, if I roll good enough, if I get a 20, I can succeed. If you don't want any players to succeed, you just narrate them successfully failing. Make it so that they did the very best at the roll or whatever, but, it still wasn't good enough. Because at the end of the day, if you give them a chance to roll, it's going to disappoint them because they're going to want to go for that higher roll and they're going to think, ooh, there's a possibility. If there's never a possibility, just don't give them a roll. Don't make them roll. Simple as that. She took a while. Math isn't no strong suit. Not mine on late, to be honest. And eventually she said it hit exactly the DC. I have two other players doing their own thing at this point, so I decide and describe the carnage that ensued, rather than what I initially planned for the session. After the session, I was listening back to the recording for notes when it hit me. There's no way, unaided, they could have hit that DC. This hasn't been my original intent. Honestly, I thought the modifier was high enough to scrape it. I thought, okay, maybe it's a mistake of adding up. But even if they got a natural 20, that have been one off the DC. And of course, if it had been a nat 20, that have mentioned it. I feel like I got to bring it up because it's either demanding everyone roll on an online dice roller, which will get complaints because RNGs, or make it her show rolls every time something seems suspiciously high. I don't want to be heavy to watch my player sheets like a hawk. And I'm not trying to make everyone feel uncomfortable, but I'm also sure I'm not the only one who noticed. Spoke to one of the other players and they said to just let it slide. But what would you suggest? Players when cheat in dice roll games, they kind of cheat their own experience because the randomness is what makes it fun. Both the wins and the losses. And listen, I've played through Baldur's Gate 3 and I've been in that moment where I'm constantly getting low rolls. 1, 3, 3, 5, 3, 4, 5, 8, 3, 5. And no matter what I do, I'm just never gonna succeed. Even on an advantage roll, I get it. Dice rolls can be cruel and unfair and sucky. But at the end of the day, if you remove the randomness of the rolls and you have consistent successes at every point, you remove the point of even playing the game or even rolling the dice. If you can succeed every time and you can never fail, what is the point of rolling the dice at that point? What is the point of playing in that point? Just launch up Skyrim, turn on God mode, turn on insta-kill, and just run around, just slay whoever you want and conquer everybody. Be the victor of Skyrim, basically. Be the great Dovahkiin God mode. Because if you remove any sort of mechanics from the actual game you're playing, and if you constantly fudge the rolls, you only lessen and cheapen your own experience for it. There is fun that can be in failure, especially when you're working with a good DM that can actually describe alternate ways that you could succeed even if you fail in some ways, because like at the end of the day, a single fail is not going to be the end of the world. You'll find other ways to succeed, and when the rolls finally happen naturally, it's just, it's going to feel so good and successful. However, we're not here to talk about what the player is doing specifically. We're here to talk about what the DM should do in their situation. I personally think, and if you want to give your advice, you can give it in the comments below if you'd like to. I would like to see what you guys think, but in my opinion, opinion, I think it's just best to just blatantly say and post on Discord, hey guys, I've been noticing some weird things, and just to make sure we have things, you know, without getting into the conversation about it or getting too deep about it, I propose to start doing an online roller just to make sure all the numbers are laid out on the table. And also to keep track. Another good thing, keeping track of the rolls and having a history of rolls will be even easier. You can even mention that keeping track of the rolls, since some things can be a little inconsistent, I just want to have this mistake in the future, is just justified by 1, having the rolls be out in the open, and 2, keeping a track record of all the rolls that have happened. If you don't want to bring up the fact that you think another player is cheating, say some of my rolls have been a little bit weird and I wasn't sure that maybe it was accurate, and I don't remember every single roll that I rolled, so I would like to potentially come back and, you know, have like a proper track record of all the history of rolls so that there's no miscommunication about it and the math is properly mathing. You don't have to say, oh, I just want to do it just to catch somebody cheating in the act and stuff. You can bring in any other reason other than cheating, but say that just to make sure that things are out in the open, and we keep a good track record of all the rolls. And this way, you give justification of why you want to do public rolls. And if somebody doesn't want to do public rolls for this reason, I mean, if they choose not to want to do public rolls or like rolling on Discord because of one reason or another, maybe this player doesn't want to do it because one reason or another, and they choose not to play anymore, then you remove the problem player. Simple as that. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments below, and if you have your own ideas about this sort of situation or your own thoughts, I'm gonna get to the next story for today. I think I picked a couple of stories that are all about cheating. I'm not fully sure. Let's see. Careful what you don't ask for. You might get it. A little more lighthearted than some, and the horror entirely came from me, and was, I feel, entirely justified. I was running a Vampire the Masquerade game back in the days when you didn't have to specify which edition it was. For those who don't know, the system is point buy, and you can get extra points by taking flaws, sometimes called disadvantages, or just disads for short. For instance, you could have more points to buy attributes and skills if you took, let's say, a physical disadvantage such as a missing limb, or a psychological one such as phobia. This is where the problem starts. One player, we'll call him that guy, decided that he wanted to try to cheese the system, but given himself a phobia that he was sure he would never come up. We were playing in modern day Los Angeles, so he gave himself a phobia of elephants. Clever, right? Except that I'm the sort of GM who believes you need to earn your disdat points. I don't let people get away with physical dependence on breathing air in champions. I'm sure as heck going to make you earn your phobia of elephants. Suddenly the whole town has elephant tattoos and elephant imagery. Magazines feature pictures of elephants. There's a barbershop that, like, you know, barbs out, is that a word? Haircuts a stencil of an elephant on someone's hair, like on a bald head or something, or like a side of the head shapes it into like a shape of an elephant. There's a kid on a playground using, what do they call it again? Chalk? Yeah, there we go. Using chalk to draw pictures of elephants. They're a little goofy looking, but they're still doing it. There's elephant advertising on the local ads and a big city billboard or something. I don't know. There's a lot of elephants everywhere. I asked him if he was sure about this. He was sure. Asked him if he expects to see a single elephant in modern day Los Angeles. He smirked as he said no. He smirked, fam. So okay, I decided I wasn't going to just forbid it. Instead, I was going to have some fun with him and the situation. Folks, there were elephants everywhere. Not always the real thing, mind you, but pictures, statues, TV show clips, adverts, you name it. It started when the Coterie, the in-world name for a PC group, were investigating something and had to go on an occult shop. There were statues of Ganesh on almost every counter. Blair had to roll his phobia check to see if he panicked or not. A little while later, there was a poster for the circus coming to town, complete with pictures of elephants doing circus elephant things. Blair had to roll his phobia check. Back in their lair, one of the NPCs had a natural documentary on. Player had to roll his phobia check. A chase led them into LA Zoo. Player had to roll his phobia check. About 5 sessions in, that guy asked me if he could use his accumulated XP to buy off his phobia on the grounds that the level of exposure therapy would surely have cured him by now. Obviously I allowed it. We both had a good laugh. But boy was it fun hoisting him by his own petard for a while. You know, I commend you, DM. I commend you. Some people might be like, oh, that's a little too egregious. It's a little bit too much. You're bullying the player. I think it's kind of funny. I mean, the player specifically picked something that they're most likely not gonna have a phobia of, right? Let's say, I don't know, like I have a phobia of World War II Soviet era Russian tanks, and I live in Texas or something, right? Let's say that. Like, I am playing a Vampire the Masquerade. I live in Texas. And I have a phobia phobia of World War II KV-2 tanks from Soviet era. You know, the ones that look like the cabin looks like a freaking fridge, the big heavy ones, and suddenly tanks everywhere. I mean, that is creativity on DM's part to just make it so jovial. I don't know, like, I don't know how bad phobias are really in Vampire the Masquerade, but I'm assuming because the player picked something that's like a less common phobia, the DM specifically wanted to play with that and add a little bit extra zest and fun to it, which I think was commendable. I mean, both laughed at it, so it didn't seem like both were upset over the whole situation. So I don't know, I think it's fine. What do you think? Is this like a mean thing to do or just kind of funny? I'm more inside of kind of funny, haha, less of a horror story, but still pretty fun. Anyway, next story for today. I'm flying through these, holy crap. I hope I'm misreading what's going on, but I don't think I am. So as the title says, I hope I'm in the wrong. I don't want to fight with someone over a game, but there's another player in my game who's starting to get on my nerves. In-game only. Outside the game, I like her, she's nice and fun. Obligatory English is not my first language disclaimer. The player I have problems with is by far the most active and vocal player, as well as the most experienced, but she plays a very confrontational PC. Everything escalates to intimidation checks or violence way too fast for her. Since she's practically the party face, as she is the most active player at the table, we have a lot of unnecessary fights, like intimidating a random shopkeeper because she doesn't want to pay them, or pushing that we'll just kill the NPC while the rest of the party is trying to negotiate or get information from them. She even uses deception and intimidation on us, the rest of the party, to get her way. The fact that your DM allows you to do that is crazy. I mean, at the end of the day, if you just allow that, it's basically PvP. You might as well just do charm person or hypnotizing gaze or any other like crowd control abilities or enchantment based abilities on, you know, each other just to get your way. At the end of the day, like if you want to intimidate somebody in a roleplay setting or like do like a persuasion in a roleplay setting, you better have a really good perceptive like grounds to talk about, or you better try to say something hella intimidating, and it's up to the player to decide whether it was intimidating or persuasive enough. No roles necessary. That's at least how I run it. Like, let's say you have character A and character B. Character B is really want to go to this village nearby for whatever reason. Character A says, nah, we'll skip it, go to a different village. Character B is like, but there's this in there and that is in there, you know, trying to persuade them. I'm not gonna make them roll. I'm gonna let them decide that in character they want to go there and how the conversation is gonna go. And it's up to the players to decide to do that. If the players decide, hey, but roll me a persuasion just to see what, you know, what kind of things would do. I want to see how my character would react, right? It's completely up to them. I've had characters specifically have like, you know, little banters or arguments or try to intimidate each other in roleplay. Obviously, it's all for fun, right? But then they'll be like, hey, roll persuasion or like roll intimidation. I want to see how my character would react to the roll. So they roll as players would just by themselves and they choose on their own accord how the characters would react. They choose their own grounds and their own rules of how the characters will react with a deception, intimidation, persuasion, inside rolls, but it's all for fun at the end of the day. Nobody's coming in there to like actually trick each other or try to manipulate each other. It's all for fun. Everybody understands it's all for fun. Everybody understands it's for the sake of entertainment and just to make a fun game for everybody. But in this situation, if a DM just gonna let you have your way because you have the highest charisma, you have the highest riz, or intimidation, deception, persuasion, whatever, that feels like it'd be really lame, because at that point, as a 20 charisma warlock, I should be able to persuade everybody to give their magical possessions over to me just because I rolled super high. It would be stupid. It would be really, really dumb. If anything, I'd say maybe the DM is playing a little bit of favoritism in this situation, but I digress. Problem 2. Spotlight hogging. Every encounter she takes the lead, even when it's a character moment for another player. She'll insert herself somehow. Another PC is talking about backstory trauma. She gives them a motivational speech for like 10 minutes straight. I was chalked out for half the speech. I guess phased out, knocked out, whatever. Phased out. Another player not specifically said we were stepping away from camp to have a scene, just the two of us. Not romantic, by the way. It was an emotional, intense scene, but she also wanted to have one, so she made a comedic relief scene with the DM in parallel to us. I admit that scene on its own was really funny, we still joke about it, but it undercut the seriousness of my and the third player's scene. We talk more about her silly scene than what happened between me and the third player, and that was a pretty big moment for us. At first, I let that slide. Story of our campaign is set in a way each of us had an arc to be the main character, with one of the villains from the group we're up against being the player's personal antagonist, and in the end we'll face them all at once, together, and she got the first go. When we finished her arc by defeating the villain, she acknowledged that she had taken up more of the spotlight up to the point, and said that now her arc was somewhat done, she would let the rest of us have more of the spotlight, but that's not what happened. Wow, so benevolent of them. Peasants, my time is finished. It is your time to finally have the small dribbles of the spotlight. Here you go. But I'll still take some anyway because it's all about me. I don't know. I feel like the player is just making everything about themselves, and DM maybe is encouraging it. They're definitely not stopping it, and I feel like it's a massive problem. I mean, at the end of the day, if everybody's supposed to have the arcs, why are you allowing the other player just to interrupt somebody else's arcs or roleplay moments or anything? You don't interrupt this main character, Mary Sue character. I actually don't even know if they're Mary Sue or not, but maybe they are. I don't know. Everything just seems a little sketchy about this player, the problem player, and the DM. Every encounter, she finds a way to be the one in charge and in spotlight, most of the time by intimidating the NPC, which leads to a fight, so she's the only one who gets to roleplay. Or when it's explicitly a non-hostile NPC, she takes the lead, argues with the DM about her abilities, can or can't do, and solves the encounter by herself, with maybe some help from us, like me casting guidance so she'll have a better role. Which leads to problem number 3. I really think she's a massive cheater. This is more of a feeling, but I have right reason to think that. 1, she almost always rolls insanely high. No one has that level of luck. 2, I sit right next to her most of the time, and I almost never see her rolls. She rolls a die, immediately picks it up, does math in her head without looking at her character sheet, then gives a number in the high teens or 20s. 3, when I noticed that, I started paying more attention to her rolls, and a few times, I did manage to see what she rolls was before she picked up the die. There was no way some of those results got her that high teens. 4, the only time she rolled low in the entire campaign was when she was using my dice. She forgot hers one session, so I let her use mine. But since I was using them too, she had to roll closer to me. That was the only session she didn't immediately pick up the die after rolling. So we all saw what the rolls were, and magically she rolled low only in that session. The final nail in the coffin, her character sheet. The DM told me that a few months ago, after one session where she pulled up some really overpowered stuff, looked at her sheet. There was so much that the DM hadn't approved that they had to rework the entire sheet from scratch. I mean, to be honest, it sounds like it's a cut and dry case of a cheater. Somebody's cheating in a game of D&D. Can you believe it? Cheating in a Math Rocks game? All the humanity. I hope I'm not sounding like, I'm mocking or anything, because it is honestly unfair for the player to just cheat. But like in this situation, if even the DM knows something is up, then I feel like it's cut and dry. Clearly the player is cheating. There's no assumptions to be made. There's no suspicion. DM already confirmed to you the player was cheating because I put way too much stuff on the character sheet that wasn't even supposed to be there. But also like picking up the die and just calling out the number before seeing the final roll, I just don't understand it. I really don't know. I get sometimes low rolls cannot feel great, but that's the whole point of rolling Math Rocks, is to see the outcome. You gotta roll with the good and the bad, and that's it. I just don't know if it's just me having a problem because I'm a less experienced player. I'ma stop you right here. DM already confirmed they were cheating. It's not you, it's literally the player. The player is cheating. I'll finish the sentences, but like at the end of the day, you shouldn't be overthinking it. The player was cheating 100%. I'm less experienced player and therefore less assertive at the table, making it easier for her to slip into the role for the most active player. Oh, this is actually a problem. And the cheating thing, even if it was 10,000% sure, I can't even call her out because of the way she picks up the die. I can't say that doesn't make sense to roll that because she always picks numbers that are possible for her character, just really unlikely. And without her rolling in the open, I can't prove she's cheating. Simply just ask the DM to start making her roll out in the open without picking up the dice. If she just picks up the dice before everybody gets to see it, then it would count as like cheating. Because clearly something's going on. The character sheet is whack, the dice rolls are whack, and the problem player is just being a problem player because they just want to have the spotlight of everything. They want the attention of everything. Like, I understand some bards have like, the eloquence bard, I think, get like some pretty high rolls and expertise and persuasion. But even then, there's no way that this player is just not cheating. The DM literally confirmed to you they had stuff they weren't supposed to have, and the sheet was just basically out of whack. They had to redo the entire character sheet. Unless the problem player and the DM actually in cahoots about some things, and maybe there's some sort of player favoriting happening from the DM, I feel like you already got a confirmation this is a problem player that cheats. You talk to the DM and say, hey DM, how about we just ask the player to just start rolling in the open? Talk to your DM and figure out a solution with them. If you need to talk to the other players, go ahead and do so. But at the end of the day, I think the best thing to do is to take what you guys already know, you and the DM, that the player is cheating, and go accordingly with that. If you think the player is going to be disruption, better let the player know. Let the DM, if anything, I don't think you should be posting this on Reddit. I mean, yeah, you can if you want to, but I think the first person you should talk to is your DM and vent out these frustrations to your DM about the spotlight hogging, the main character Mary Sue kind of stuff, all of it. Vent to your DM about it and figure out a solution together. Clearly the player's cheating, clearly the player's exuding really bad problem play behavior in game. Y'all gotta work on it as a team and as a group and figure out a solution together. I wish you the best of luck and hope things work out for y'all. And with that, that's gonna be all our stories for today. I want to thank you very much for watching and thanks so much for being here. If you like what I do, consider subscribing to the channel and leaving a like. Also, if the RPG Horror Stories ever goes down, or if you want to submit your own personalized horror story, email is down in the description below. I'll see you again in more Tales Tomorrow. Bye-bye.